What's up YouTube? Welcome back for part 4 of my EJ257 hybrid build. In this episode I'm going to tear down this engine and try and find out maybe what happened to it. Start setting parts aside, organizing the garage to make it so that I can start maybe even thinking about getting parts loaded onto the other engine. I probably won't install any parts on the other engine, but at least I'll be able to get organized so that I can do it. I'm going to tear down the engine. I'm not going to show a whole lot of it. It's already something I've kind of gone over. If you go back to like the Outback, where the timing belt broke in the Outback videos, it's a 5-part series. I do a whole tear down on a motor doing cylinder heads on that engine, and it's basically the same thing as what I'm about to do here. So intake's going to come off, all the brackets, alternator, the valve covers, the timing cover, all the timing, and then I'll probably even break the heads loose and take those off. I'll probably even get the number 4 piston and pop it out, see what happened to it, and expecting cracked ring lands, but you never know what might have happened to that cylinder and why it only had 50 psi. But so yeah, gonna jump right into it and show you what happens. So I've already got the intake manifold off and out of the way. Comes off relatively easy. You just have to think about the crank sensor, the knock sensor, the cam position sensor, and then I had a couple things, other things zip tied. You also have to get the factory oil pressure switch. So now you can actually get a really good idea of how I've done this. So this is an elbow fitting coming out of the factory bung that this oil pressure switch would normally be in, and it goes in this direction away from the alternator. And then there's another T which has a fitting into another T which splits off for the factory oil pressure sender and my aftermarket gauge, and then leading off the other end of the T is my braided oil line feed for the turbo. So it's pretty messed up, but it works really well. And I've wondered about using the other fitting from the block to do something back here, but after working with it and seeing how tight it was on Tyler's car, I think I'm just gonna maybe even unthread this actual fitting, the bottom fitting, right from the block. After getting this bracket out of the way, I'll probably take off the braided line, and I'm gonna give it a quick vacuum up top just to keep things away from the heads, because I want to keep them as clean as possible, and start taking off brackets, the coolant crossover pipe, and get to the timing and the valve covers. Also got to peel off the clutch and the flywheel and set that aside as well. I've got everything completely taken off the top of the motor except for this little bypass pipe, but I'm pretty sure you've got to get it from in behind this cover at least, and I think it can actually be left to last even after the heads are off. But everything else is completely gone. So the coolant crossover pipe, all my oil pressure senders and the oil feed line for that, all the brackets, and ready to move on to the timing. So everything looks really good in here. The tensioner pretty dry, and I know these idlers are all good. These are the GMB bearing idlers, which I highly recommend. You see that green seal? You've got a really good idler. And this is an older tensioner, but looks to be good. I would say this is actually an aftermarket water pump, and I could have probably used it, but I do have a new one coming to replace it. So yeah, I'm ready to take off the timing. Probably just set all this stuff aside for now, and then go about taking off the covers and cracking the heads off of this guy. I've actually also got the clutch and flywheel off. The flywheel has definitely seen a lot of heat. This is a lightweight flywheel. Still looks good, and the wear looks even on it. The pressure plate shows a lot of heat, but not significantly bad. It's not rainbowed at all. It's just charred a little bit, and the wear looks extremely even on it as well. Even not too much dust coming apart when I got it apart. Now the disc, this is a segmented disc both sides. If I remember correctly, this is an FX300 kit from Clutch Masters. So the material's getting quite low, but to begin with, you don't get a whole lot, and I'd have to say this is still at about 50%. It's got a little bit of glazing over on this side, and this side actually doesn't look too bad at all. But I am going to plan to reuse it. I was wondering about it, but now that I've seen it, I am going to reuse it, and I'll just have to plan for the future that I'll probably end up having to buy a disc, and maybe I'll end up going with like a 6-puck. I don't know, maybe. Now I've noticed people in the comments, other people's videos, and I think actually my own videos, how some of these timing belts are so tight, and really it's not something I've actually experienced too often. This is a Gates belt. This idler's off already, and I'm having the hardest time just getting this thing to come off. So this is one of those tight belts that absolutely sucks. And how that person got it back on there. So I've got all the timing off in the front. I've gone and taken this valve cover off. So I'm gonna take this head off because number 4 is the one that's bad, and I'd really like to have a look, and I think you guys like to see what may have happened to that cylinder as well. So I'll just have to try and keep this braced. I don't want it tipping over like it did in Tyler's video. But I'm gonna take that head off, and we'll see what's underneath of it. So I've got bank number 2 cylinder head off, and I'm looking at the cylinder wall. There's scuffing down here. There's scuffing over there. There's some really bad scuffing up in here. So the pistons look like they've been washed with fuel, maybe. But I'm gonna lower this one down, take off this rear cover plate, and I want to pop this piston out. But just before I get there and too unbalanced with this thing, I'm gonna take off the other head just to kind of keep this thing evenly sitting onto the buckets here, and then I'll just have the bare block. I can start pulling the rest of the stuff off of it. I'll probably set it up on the engine stand and take off the mounts and whatever else I need to take off of it. So now I've got the other head off, and we're basically left with just the short block. I've already gone ahead and knocked the pin out for number 4 out of the backside here, and now that number 4 is bottomed out, one of the things I noticed is on the edge of the cylinder here that there's some material left here at the top, and looking down at the piston, it looks like this material might actually be piston material, or it's a part of a ring that's come up past the piston. Some average wear here, but shows definitely more signs of wear than any other cylinder. Some more up here, and then the top up here, which has actually got a rough spot on it, which is where the crack may be. So maybe intake side, rear of the piston. So with everything set the way it is, I can actually turn the motor and try and get this piston to come out. And well, we can go ahead and say that there's some major problems with this piston. This guy's been chewing himself apart for a little while. Every side has taken damage and really been chewing up in there. None of the rings will move anymore. They're all kind of in there really badly. And this bottom ringland is broken free. It would come out of there if I pulled on it. And then if I look really close, this upper one is actually cracked here and also cracked here, which means it's pretty much ready to come out as well. So they've probably been shifting around, causing debris to go through the rings and actually get caught up in some places. Yeah, that's actual material missing off the bottom, this one side here. So obviously the cause of the noise and the cause of loss of compression, and ultimately the failure of this bottom end. I could also just leave this to service as an NA motor and use it as a replacement block for something. And I can probably get a piston pretty cheap. But really, in order to do that, this one is going to have to be split. I'd have to probably own out that cylinder because it's taking quite a bit of wear everywhere. And even though it should probably be bored out and to reuse it, it's really not worth boring out to me. So here you got a comparison of the NA piston with the STI turbo piston, both 2.5 liter, both measured out the same at 99.5 millimeters. And looking at them, they really don't have very much material difference. The rings are positioned a little differently, and obviously the STI piston's got a bit more of a dish to the NA motor having a flat top. But for material, the STI's got a little bit bigger boss in here to hold the wrist pin, but they are very close. So at this point I need to do some major cleanup, and I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to go next, but I know I have to get this used engine onto the stand to at least get the oil pan and a couple pieces from the bottom side and whatever else I need off of it, the motor mounts. And then once that's done, I can push it off to the side and actually grab the new block and put it on the stand and start putting those pieces back on. But I've really got to get the bench cleared because I want to be able to work on the heads on the bench and take all the valves out. But that's going to be the next episode, and hopefully by Sunday I can get into that. So if you like this video, definitely give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please consider hitting that subscribe button for me. Leave your questions and comments further down below, and I'll see you in the next one.